What's going on, everyone? It's Super here, and welcome to another Injustice 2 video. And today I'm going to be talking a little bit about some of the mechanics and terms that are going to prepare you for Injustice 2 if you maybe are just getting into fighting games, maybe late into Mortal Kombat X was your first fighting game, or you're going into Injustice 2, maybe that's going to be your first fighting game, and you don't know some of the terms that I use in some of my videos, like maybe plus frames, etc, etc. So I'm here to share with you guys what you need to know to prepare for Injustice 2, which is only a week away. So let's get started here with the absolute basics, which is the button terms that I use. So this is very easy to understand, and once you guys hear it once, you guys will get it, and you guys will get it forever because it's very easy. So I'll put it up on the screen. The reason why we use numbers to categorize specific attacks is because we want to use a universal sort of language or term to talk about Xbox One controllers and PS4 controllers, because people don't play on the same console. You might be playing on Xbox One, I might be playing on PS4, so we don't use the same thing. X on Xbox One is the square button on PS4, so the numbers actually help out a lot and make things a lot more simple to understand across the board. So that's why I use 1, 2, 3, and 4 for Mortal Kombat X, 1, 2, 3 for Injustice. So I hope that helps out. Moving on here to some actual in-game stuff. So let's talk a little bit about frame data. Now, frame data is in every single game, but the beautiful thing about NetherRealm games is they provide you with all the frame data for every single attack, every single combo string, every single special move, which is very helpful because you don't have to guess on what's the startup on, Superman's breath, or what is how minus are you on block on a specific move. The moves list actually provides that for you, which is awesome. So I'll try to simplify this as much as I can. If you guys have any questions about this, write it in the comment section. But frame data is pretty much just frames of animation. Like the most simple term you could say is it's frames of animation. There's different categories. So for example, every single move in the game, every single regular hit like a standing 1, standing 2, every special move in the game, every trait activation, everything has startup frames and recovery frames. And that is, you just have to learn via the moves list. Whenever your character comes out, or whenever you play a character in Injustice 2 or any game that you are interested in, that's where you learn their frame data, their startup frames, what button is the fastest one. So in NetherRealm games, usually the fastest button is like 6 frames. So 6 frames of animation. That means if my Superman is standing next to your Batman and we both press our buttons at the exact same time, but my attack comes out in 6 frames and yours comes out in 7 frames, that means my attack is going to beat yours because my attack comes out 1 frame faster. So that's how startup works. Recovery is a little bit different. You're just gonna have to learn your specific move. Like I mentioned, all the data's right there. But the question that a lot of people always have is, what are you talking about when you say plus on block, minus on block, plus on hit, stuff like that. So this is where a lot of people get confused. So pretty much the same thing. To break it down, the plus on block, minus on block, all that is just frames of animation in which either you can move or your opponent can move faster than each other. So first, let's start off on block. If my move is plus 5 on block and you block it and we both jump at the same time after you block it, that means if my move is plus 5 on block, I have 5 frames of animation in which I could jump or I could do anything I want before you can move. So if I say, oh, I'm plus 5 on block, I don't know why his down 1 beat mine, is because I have 5 frames of animation in which I can move before my opponent can. So that's pretty much like the gist of plus on block. Same thing with minus on block. If my move is minus 5, that means if my opponent blocks it, he has 5 frames of animation in which he could move or do anything he wants before I can't move. And of course, that includes blocking. So if I'm minus 5, after one of my attacks that gets blocked by my opponent, I can't block for those -5 frames, or those 5 frames in which my opponent can move before I can. So that's why you have to be very careful on what moves you throw out there on block, because if you throw out there a special move that is like -20 on block, your opponent blocks it, that means that you can't do anything for those 20 frames in which your character is recovering. You can't even block for those 20 frames. And that's where, punishing comes into play. That's when you have to know what button is my fastest, what button can I press that is going to punish my opponent, hit my opponent in this window in which he can't do anything. So if I'm -5 on block, there isn't a normal or move that my opponent could throw out there to punish my -5 on block. But if you're -20, your opponent has a wide variety of attacks, depending on what character it is, to punish those -20 frames of animation in which you can't do anything, including block. So that's where, being minus on block, plus on block, punishes, that's where those terms come from. So I hope that helped you guys out. And of course, being plus on hit, it just means the opposite of minus on block. How many frames of animation do I have in which I can move before my opponent can? This is pretty much the same thing. So I hope you guys understand that. Like I mentioned, if you have any questions, leave it down in the comments section. One cool thing about the Injustice series compared to Mortal Kombat X is that you could actually combo from your down one. That's right. A lot of characters, including Harley Quinn, have a down one that could combo into a special move. And this is not possible in a game like Mortal Kombat X. If you down 1, down 3, down 4, any of that, that's just a single attack that doesn't combo into any of your special moves. So down ones are a lot more important as far as punishes in Injustice series. So if you have a 6-frame down one with nice range that could combo into things, that's going to be like one of your main sources of punishes if your standing attacks are not fast. So moving on here, let's talk a little bit about wake-ups. And wake-ups are very important in Injustice because wake-ups actually have frames of invincibility, meaning there are specific number of frames, more so on like the startup of a special move, in which if you attack your opponent and one of your moves actually would normally connect, if your opponent wakes up with a specific move that has invincibility, your move is going to go right through his body, because during those few frames of startup on his wake up, he is invincible, meaning that none of your moves could touch him, nothing could touch him, everything will go right through him. And it's something that's definitely different compared to Mortal Kombat X, in which there's only a handful of moves that have complete invincibility. In Injustice, for the most part, every character has at least one wake up that is completely invincible for a couple of frames on the startup, if they use it in a wake up manner, meaning if you knock your opponent down and on the ground he does one of the special moves, wakes up with it, that's what you call wake up. So something that you could use to counteract that if your opponent only has a attack that hits once is you could use your meter burn back 3 or forward 3, which is something else that's completely different from Mortal Kombat X, because in Mortal Kombat X you have specific moves that have hits of armor, meaning that if you spend a bar of meter, you could absorb one of your opponent's hits and still continue doing your special move. In Injustice, there are no armored moves, or at least for the most part, there aren't. Characters don't have access to armor moves like that. There's only some unique cases. But what you can do if you want armor on your special move and you know your opponent, for example, is going to wake up with a slide or something like that, and you want to punish him for it, you could do a meter burn back 3 or forward 3. And that is one of the only ways that you could get armor in Injustice 2 for every single character. So moving on to the way you could use it in a combo. So something unique to Injustice is every character has access to a lot of damage if you use your meter burn back 3 or forward 3 in combos, but the difference between using it just normally and using it in a combo is the combo actually takes 2 bars of meter to use. So if I do if I do a special move with Harley, which you guys will probably be seeing in the background, if I do a combo into a meter burn back 3 or forward 3, that meter burn back 3 or forward 3 is going to cost 2 bars of meter instead of the normal 1, because I'm using it in a combo, and it really doesn't scale. That's why it costs like 2 bars. The combos don't really scale. You get a lot of damage guaranteed if you have a basic combo and you use one of your meter burn back 3 or forward 3. For example, during the Injustice beta, Blue Beetle had a basic combo, which was 1-1-1 into meter burn back 3. You jump in with one of your attacks and you finish the combo, and it was an easy 50%, in which normally Blue Beetle wouldn't have no damage if he didn't have meter burn back 3 or forward 3 at his disposal, which every character has. So moving on here to the last thing that I want to cover, which is clashes in Injustice 2. Now, a lot of people who might be new to the series might get a little bit confused with the clash system, so I'll break it down to you guys like this. There's 2 sides to the clashes, obviously, so I'm gonna explain it on both sides. So first, I'm gonna start off by being Harley Quinn, and my opponent activates the clash versus me. So in this situation, we each have 4 bars of meter, and depending on who wagers more, the result is going to affect the character. So I'm using Harley Quinn right now. If I spend 4 bars of meter, my opponent has no bars, meaning he has 0 meter. That means that I won the wager with my 4 bars of meter, and I'm going to inflict about 33% damage to my opponent. And it works vice versa pretty much. If I'm playing as Harley Quinn, my opponent clashes, I have no meter, but he has 4 bars of meter, he's going to gain 33% of life back. And that's pretty much the clash system and how it works. And you can only clash if you are on your 2nd life bar of health. So in Injustice, there's no rounds, it's just 2 life bars, 1,000 points of health each, or depending, I guess some characters have a little bit more. Once your 1st life bar is drained, the 2nd life bar comes into play, and that's when you have the access to the clash. One thing unique to Injustice 2 compared to Injustice 1 is you actually have what you call a meter burn air tech, or a meter burn rollout, whatever you want to call it. It's pretty much for a cost of 2 bars of meter. You could try to get out of your opponent's combo by pressing the R2 button and back, or R2 button and up. Depending, if you press it back, obviously the opponent's, or you're gonna roll backwards, and if you press meter burn or R2 and up, you're gonna sort of roll up and fall to the ground. The only negative to this is if you fall into your opponent's combo and he's still continuing the combo, you're gonna get hit because you can't block automatically. So you have to be very careful and selective on when you use that. One other thing is the meter burn roll, which you guys, I don't have to explain too much, you guys know what it is. For a cost of 2 bars of meter, you could actually forward dash and press the meter burn button, and you go about 75% of the screen, and during your meter burn roll, you're actually invincible to projectiles. On the startup, you're not. You could get hit out of it, but once you start rolling, you actually go through projectiles, and you could even go through like your opponent and appear on the other side. So I think that's all I wanted to cover, guys. One last thing about clashes, I completely forgot. You could actually make it so your opponent cannot clash. So if you know that you have like the game-ending combo, and your opponent is just about to clash, something that you could do is if you hit him with a back 3 or a forward 3, those specific attacks are unclashable. Meaning if you connect a, let's just say, 1 hit into a meter burn back 3 or meter burn forward 3, because your opponent actually needs at least 2 hits to be able to clash. So if you do 1 hit into a meter burn back 3 or forward 3, all you have to do for your opponent not to be able to clash is hit him with a projectile, or you could hit him with another back 3 or forward 3, because those are unclashable. So I think that about covers what I wanted to talk about in this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Let me know down in the comments if you have any questions, and I will see you guys next time. What's going on, guys? It's Super here. I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, make sure you guys subscribe or check out any of these videos linked at the top. Thank you, and I'll see you guys next time.